Here's something I've written in its most raw, unfiltered state. Changes were only made for the sake of coherentness. Funny how Chinese takeout boxes pile up over a few weeks. Staring at the TV screen, only blobs of color can be perceived. Sound enters, but only an empty drone rings on. Feeling has escaped. If there was a way to feel dead while alive, this would be the way. Just sitting in a living room in a minor city somewhere across the vast scape of this world, acting as a living embodiment of entropy. Sometimes something is compelling you into motion, but it's almost as if this is just an aimless struggle to have the perception change. Nothing actually ever changes. Sure, there are different faces, tasks, works, and memories. But as things progress, you realize how patterned life can really be. Days, weeks, months, years, and most recently decades seem to all blend together and be fleeting memories. You decide to extend your aimless wandering out your door, into the dark streets below, maybe to find some comfort along the way. The pungent city aroma is almost a blessing, at least knowing the source of some discomfort is pleasant. A few blocks down sits the decrepit church that somehow sees an eager audience a few times a week. Old traditions die hard, as the saying goes. People in this city don't particularly follow the advice of a higher power these days, and simply go to receive some sort of solace in life. How desperately you wish you could believe, but such a concept is of anything beyond and is filled with paradoxes and years of searching, only to come up with little answer other than a hopeful maybe. Inside you hear a choir singing and they hold envy in your heart, wishing faith in some magical being would appear and instantly fill your heart with the joy that they seem to acquire from it. Their voices radiate seemingly pure bliss, something you've only been able to conjure in fleeting moments between bottles of good spirit. Continuing on, the street only seems to remind you of the increase in pain and suffering in the world. You see the homeless man who's been in the area for weeks, the lost dog who is on their last legs, and the store owner taking a last look at his former business, wondering where everything went wrong. It's all just weighing upon you, and you haven't felt like yourself in years, and you seek to understand anything again. In a moment of true fright, you run down the dark street, not caring about the past and only looking to the empty road ahead. Fear fills the heart and mind. There's a bridge from your youth. And it's funny how some things can lose significance in the moment. You look over to it, the panic settling in your heart. In a moment of weakness, you look to the edge and take a leap. Falling slowly like a feather. You wake on an ocean, and all is silent for a moment. Skin soft as the sunlight itself, light simply fading away at its core. It's as if something connected itself and wrapped around the spirit, and from its breath was the fire of raw creation. I gasped before its maw and its infinite splendor, and I screamed its name, for I understood what it meant and what it felt. I tried to rationale with the infinite, streams that pounded my head, but it was never enough. After wrestling and contorting, the infinite poured through me again like streams emanating from some unknown genesis. I cried the tears of the forgotten and sang the songs of the victorious. I finally realized and understood before I was whisked away back again on the ocean. For the first time, things were whole again. You and I flew through each other once again as the idea intermingled on itself again. Unity was present, but it was forever fleeting back into the waves from creation. What is this? I cry out in desperation. What do you wish it? A strange, ominous call hums. I struggle to catch my breath, trying to gasp to some form that doesn't exist, and I clutch at a chest that isn't there. What is going on? In a moment, I am hushed, and all things were washed away. In the clearing is a boy at the base of an apple tree. You'll come to terms with that, won't you? The voice beckons your form towards them. Following only out of sheer necessity and compulsion, you sit beside the boy. You begin to cry as you sit before a golden mirror and see into yourself for what it truly is. A giant void fills and encompasses everything again and spits out a vicious cycle of regret and misery. Suffering like blood pours from its lips and eats the very flesh off the fledgling form it has. You attempt to understand it, but understanding not finds your way. It is a hollow and empty, and still nothing makes sense not. Some instinctual pull guides things together as words form again. So, to understand what we are is futile. You must go along the waves. You are not its master, and you still have much to see. Concepts barely grasp onto one another as thoughts fill the surroundings and manifests of color and sound. Am I just a watcher or an observer? Incorrect. You're being observed, and you're the one who is being watched. A calmness fills the void and creeps in like a smooth breeze. You've ended up here like most of us have, at the end of a long road, but you're beginning to see that this road never truly ends. It only spirals and evolves and devolves into a madness of silence and cacophonous symphonies. The scene shifts to a small field with a lone television stand in the middle of it. On it is the same boy from before, pleading with the apple tree for forgiveness for the wrongs it has done. The apple tree mocks and ridicules him, apples flooding down and swarming him, and consuming the boy, tearing him limb from limb apart at the seams. Again, a wild flash of light shifts everything once more and is thrust into an open sky. Learning? The voice beckons out. So you're seeing it's as chaotic and as mad as you can make it out to be. Yes, it's a lot to take in at first. Visions of old things come to pass as the hymns of old gods roar through your core. So how can I hope to contain all of this? The roars moan and surge through and shatter all notions, and a perfect B-flat resonates for several long minutes before sputtering out into nothingness. This silence echoes on for ages as you seek to not disturb it. You cradle it like a newborn, latching to it, hoping to find some sort of primitive comfort. After ages of silence, a voice whispers forth, "Are you ready to begin?" From these words sprung waves of light and energy pouring through the cosmic sphere and shot forth into the ruinous screams of the damned. The dissenters of creation rallied, for no greater call would be needed. The armies of thought rallied to keep all at bay. War, disease, famine, and bloodshed poured from the lips of the beast as I wrestled with it and sought to contain it. The boundaries found no limit as the beast ripped free from its holdings and spilled vileness from its mouth as if it was speaking its common tongue. The beast wanders off through the trails and finds itself lost after a while. And this beast, too, succumbs to the need to return to cosmic cinder. What is the meaning of all this? A faint, disembodied chuckle, followed by a wave of maddening laughter erupts through, the mocking and jeering sounds amplify and contort to the most unholy of noises. All is silent once more. You look back to see the apple tree again. Its decaying and frail form crumbles into dust. All things must return to this. The ashes and decayed rot crystallize into a pure white gemstone with as many faces as the libraries have words. Light pours and envelops all and consumes the world in its hot, brilliant splendor. The life itself knows no wrong and seeks only to spread its glorious warmth wherever it goes. A bliss can be felt that hasn't been expressed in aeons. Wholeness and peace, unlike any other, fills the air and teases your grasp. Is this the true climax of existence? The words leave, only be met with a wave of pure agony, as the bliss is met with the dissonant recoiling of the beast once more. The beast tears at the fabric and eats the bones, desperately trying to feed the engine of madness and depravity within it. This beast knew no true limits, as it sought only to consume, and use what is consumed to only necessitate further consumption. The beast wrapped around itself, and soon succumbed to a famine of its own creation. All things which begin must come to an end. Another clearing was evident, and silence filled the emptiness, waiting for something to fill it once more. This void was the pinnacle of all, and recognizing the pure genius of it, filled the minds of the enlightened. They understood the answer was always no. But they just wanted to reject the notion, for the answer being so obviously in front of them was repulsive to consider, because it was all just so simple. From that idea was torn the very beginnings, ripping apart the cosmic consensual boundaries and shattering the oath of non-creation. The infant ideas intermingling together with the old stories of the forgotten tomes. From the lips of a dying man came the song that would usher in new beginnings. The gemstone returned to dust, and the dust began to proliferate. This grand dust filled all and found its way into every last nook and cranny of existence, finding pleasure in just how much it could fill itself with sheer concepts alone. The dust, like a holy grainy delight, fills the cosmos, and all is right. Just as all was beginning to be right, and absolute completeness had finally attained, the beast ravaged again once more, feeding at what it become and twisting the very coils of it. And then the dust solidified into brilliant pillars of creation. The palaces of the gods were forged in the splendor of the conflict. The endless palisades constructed out of strife and mausoleums of misfortune reigned free to the masses. You can't help but feel but accomplished at your work, seeing the works that only empires could dream of procuring at the very tracings of your fingertips. You realize for the first time what this means. And what you are. All is just. All is well. But it's odd how empty things feel. No creatures to fill the halls you've created. No coherent life to entertain the courtyards you've laid about. The eerie silence draws to a guttural desire to further this creation. Specks of green slowly begin to replace the dull gray of the stone. A gentle breeze hums, and battalions of multicolored felines jump from the fonts of creation. Such creatures so free to roam, such splendors to finally be unleashed, their spirits dashing into the infinite unsure landscape, only clinging to the sureness that the end will finally meet them one day. Darts of consciousness shoot in every direction across the emptiness, becoming the first specks of the named and the original ones that would call these fresh lands home. You need to do nothing now but let the springs of creation spill out new souls, for all these souls are good. Their words and songs fill the chambers with nothing but delight and contentment, for nothing could be more true to rejoice in the moments of innocence. No tears are needed. No sins to be washed forth. Just a pure radiance that transcends perfection. And even if it's fleeting, you realize it's good, for this moment where it is all together and all is one and right sings to the heavens. Rejoice in the light that envelops. Sing glory to the highest that these foundations may be built. No sooner did these foundations meet the rejoice, did they soon meet the inevitable crumble. Dynasties fell, but from the ashes were a swath of joyous birds, outstretching their wings and en masse spread the fertilizer for all new things. dropping down crystalline formations that seeped into the very ripples of the void. From these ripples emerged a grand spire, one of magnificent splendor, for the intricacies of this creation were bordering on utter insanity, for every etching had a name, and every detail was wrought with even more layers than it could even comprehend. At the tip of such spire was a glowing light as the voice took form once more. "You are beginning to see. All can be forged here. All will be forged here. It is up to us. The hand of the forge is to usher in the waves of creation." As the tides crashed in, merciless chanting met the typhoon and enveloped all once more. The storm screamed its name and let the beyond know its call. The beckoning of the coiling winds erupted from the unknown, and spilling from the depths came the new symphonies of deliverance. The winds would know new mountains, and streams would know its new valleys. The storm quickly disseminated back, but understood the lessons it had sung. The choirs grew to rest as the decrescendo murmured on some of the songs ending in tales of lost shoes or sonnets of brave women who had overcome great perils. All noise is losing itself again to the incessant, endless silence.